Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to teach you support and resistance. I know there's a lot of videos out there teaching support and resistance, but this will definitely open some more opportunities for you if you don't know the things I'm about to show you. So let's go through it. So first things first is this is essentially how support and resistance actually works. So support will always go to resistance and resistance will always go to support until there is a breakout. Now, once there's a breakout, it will find another level of resistance. So when that happens, what then happens, is that resistance becomes support. So RBS means resistance becomes support. So if you notice the first breakout, once it broke out of the resistance, it then became support, right? And the same thing goes for the other side. Once there's a breakout of support, then support becomes resistance. So essentially that's all price is doing, is moving from support to resistance, resistance to support until there's a breakout, right? Now, how do we identify price will respect our level is by the closing price. And how do you identify a breakout is by the closing price breaking this S&R level, right? So you use a line chart on the actual chart, and I'll go to that in a minute to show you how that works. But essentially that's all price is doing. It's moving from one level to the next. So there's 5 types of support and resistance: HNS, OHLC, Classic, QML, Fresh versus Unfresh. I'll show you what that means. So HNS, otherwise known as head and shoulders. So we always use the left shoulder. The left shoulder is the only thing that really matters when it comes to HNS, right? So this is essentially the pattern. I'll show it to you on the chart later. It's nothing complicated about it, just using the left shoulder always. So for the regular head and shoulders, left shoulder is a resistance level, and then for the inverted, left shoulder is a support level, right? So that's how that works. OHLC, you probably see me talk about this a lot. It's just literally the 2 same candles. So if it's 2 bearish candles, it will act as resistance. If it's 2 bullish candles, it will act as support. So these are support and resistance levels. Double Mary Bozos, OHLC, whatever you want to call it. So this is essentially how it works. Classic, obviously the classic it looks like this. So it's 2 of the opposite candles. So you have a classic resistance and a classic support. Usually they're engulfing candles, not all the time, but this is essentially just 2 opposite candles that form a classic support and resistance level. QML is known as the Quasimodo. So this essentially is how the pattern looks. It's not as similar to an HNS, a little bit similar, but essentially what happens is price will create, a breakout, it'll break out of the high and on the breakout of the low, right? So this is essentially the pattern. Always use the left shoulder again. I'll take you to the charts to show you kind of what that looks like, but just to kind of see how that is. Fresh versus unfresh levels. Now an unfresh resistance level, you can see how price tapped it and closed with the wick. If the wick touches the level, it no longer becomes fresh, it's unfresh. The next one, you can see fresh resistance. No wicks have touched that level, so it's considered fresh. Pretty simple, self-explanatory. So I'm going to go to the charts, kind of show you real quick what all that stuff looks like. So let's just kind of go here to the 4-hour chart. Doesn't really matter what time frame you use in terms of support and resistance, because it's all the same for every time frame, right? So I like to go to the line chart. First, I'll show you a breakout. So this right here, if you go here, you put this here. This is a breakout, right? So price broke out of this level. So we go back. We can see price broke out of this level here. So this is the breakout. Just to kind of show you now, price is going to find some level of resistance, right? So price found some level of resistance here, just as an example. Just as an example of support and resistance levels, right? So price found some kind of a support here. So just kind of showing you the different support and resistance levels. So this is a support level, 2 of the opposite candles. This is a support level, 2 of the same candles, OHLC. This is a support level, 2 of the same candles, 2 of the same candles. Then this becomes a resistance. Now this is a resistance. This is a resistance, and I had a breakout, so I found support here. Obviously, you see I found support here. This is a resistance. It's two of the same candles. Okay, again, this is a resistance, two of the same candles, just to kind of get you an idea, give you an idea of what that looks like. Now, those are OHLC and Classic. Now, in terms of HNS or QML, you kind of need to open the line chart if you aren't familiar with it. So essentially, this is what the pattern looks like. This is a pattern for you can say HNS or QML. Pretty much they're both the same. It's just honestly that the left shoulder is support once it has a breakout, right? So like as an example, right? So this would be considered support now, right? So it broke out. So you can see here it acted as support, right? So you can see here it acted as a level of support and respected the level, right? So let me just delete this for a second. And then there's another level of support right here, which is the double OHLC. You can see price respected that level, right? Yeah, so that's essentially how the pattern looks like. You go to the line chart, you'll be able to notice it a lot easier. Once you get good at noticing this pattern, you won't need to use the line chart, but that's essentially what it looks like. So yeah, and let me give you an example of what head and shoulders pattern looks like. Most recently, let me see if I can find it. Oh, this is the other pattern too. Let me just show you this, guys. So this is what it looks like now for resistance. This is kind of the pattern too. So, right, so this is the same pattern. QML, HLC, QML, HNS, whatever you want to call it. It's just kind of what the pattern looks like. But price might not go to that level. We'll get into, I'll talk about how, how to know what level it's going to go to. Again, that comes to the closing price. So let me see here if I can find something else to show you. Let me see if I can find some more HNS patterns. Oh yeah, here, this is kind of what happened most recently. Oops. Let me just fix my screen here. Oops. Oh man. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me just kind of zoom in here. So most people won't recognize this as a HNS, but I'll show you. So okay, so this is the HNS pattern. This is the left shoulder, right? You go to the line chart, you see price respected it. So that's an HNS pattern. You're gonna have to do a little bit of back testing to get familiar with these support and resistance levels. Generally though, the most common one is the head and shoulders, QML, QMR, it's pretty much the same thing. OHLC, is pretty much the same thing, like right here, OHLC, like, these are resistance levels that price respects. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Pretty straightforward. You're just gonna have to do a little bit of back testing to kind of take a look and see all these different support and resistance levels and what gets supported and not supported. So this here is a breakout. See that was respected. So you go to the line chart right here. This was a resistance turned support. So resistance became support. Tapped here, went up. Yep, so I hope that helps. That's essentially all the different types of support and resistance levels. Now, one more thing is for fresh and unfresh. So this level would be considered not fresh only because of the fact that it touched here. So this made this level not fresh. However, what makes it fresh again is by a body closing. So if you can see here, this candle closed through it, right? It broke the level. So when it broke the level, it broke as a resistance, then it broke as a support. So then it's able to be used again as a support level. So that's why that happened. So if you're wondering, this level is not fresh anymore. Well, it is fresh because it broke through a resistance. However, it broke through a support again. Bearish candle, bullish candle. So then it turned into support, and that's why it went up. So that's how it can become fresh again, is by the candles breaking, the body of the candle breaking the level, and then it will become fresh again. So that's kind of how an unfresh level becomes fresh again and is used as support again. So I hope that helps.